even as everything else collapses around him. The dear Prime Minister, let's call him Bottom Button Starmer, has an inflexible devotion to the new aesthetic protocol, and he emerges beaming beside Ursula von der Leyen, everything stitched up. He was standing in front of a battleship grey stage as though staging a funeral for British sovereignty. A voice from the press gallery cried out, "Prime Minister, have you been stitched up like a kipper?" Oh, if only. This wasn't so much a stitch-up as a full filleting. The Eurocrats didn't just take his place, they butterflied him and served him up with lemon, and it was an ambush worthy of a Jacques Delors cookbook. The setting was Lancaster House, but the symbolism was pure Brussels. Behind Starmer, the once grand British tapestries were hidden beneath cheap vinyl. Beside him stood von der Leyen, tailored in blue, starred in gold, not so much an EU diplomat as an ambulatory flagpole. They called it a reset. In truth, it was déjà vu, a half-hearted reanimation of the Brexit corpse. Like Frankenstein's monster with a fishing rod, it groaned back to life under dynamic alignment and veterinary equivalence. Pause to consider what Bottom Button Starmer actually got: the right to queue marginally faster at European airports, use an e-gate, and send our pets abroad without needing a certificate signed in triplicate by a vet with a PhD in zoo diplomacy. In return, we've granted EU fleets guaranteed access to our waters until 2038, an extraordinary extension considering the original offer was for 4 years. And as Scottish Fishermen's Federation put it, it's a horror show. One might reasonably ask, how many smoked haddocks does it take to buy an EU weapons contract? The answer appears to be all of them. Now, fishing is only a small part of the economy, but a large part of the Brexit mythos. And Starmer, once tasked with prosecuting war criminals, is now presiding over a nation whose coastal communities feel like collateral damage in his PR war for middle-class approval in Brussels. Far from taking back control, we're now in dynamic alignment, subject to new EU food laws, making appropriate financial contributions to Brussels' regulatory coffers. In other words, paying to obey laws we don't write. And the ultimate irony, Jacob Rees-Mogg now calls this unconditional surrender, which is quite something coming from a man who's previously celebrated Brexit opportunities as if they included flying pigs and frictionless unicorn exports. The so-called youth experience scheme, which sounds suspiciously like a Bavarian gap year programme, is still in flux, but already feared by Kemi Badenoch as a backdoor return to freedom of movement. And if true, it would be the first instance in history of re-entry by pet passport and au pair. Disputes under this agreement will now be interpreted by the European Court of Justice. Our Brexiteers fought to leave that court's jurisdiction. Now it's back like Banquo's ghost interpreting standards on sausages. So we shouldn't be naive. This deal is not about fisheries or freedom, it's about face-saving. And Starmer had to do something to demonstrate international seriousness. After all, he recently tried to flog Chagos to Mauritius and ended up paying them. He could hardly turn up empty-handed to Brussels. Business likes the deal, of course. Red tape reduction, re-entry to the energy market, defence procurement. But we shouldn't be mistaken. We are once again aligning with European law. And this time we have no say in what we actually do. Starmer has taken us halfway back to Brussels, but without voting rights, without veto, without voice. It's European membership minus the membership card, plus the subscription fee, and without all the advantages. Critics on the right cry betrayal. The betrayal came in surely 2016 when the British public was sold a unicorn. This reset is the moment when the unicorn is finally replaced with a donkey wearing a wig marked Customs Equivalence Protocol 4A. The comments from the street are telling. Why did I vote for this? We've lost our fish, our autonomy, our pride. All we got in return was a faster queue at Alicante. One man, known as Mint Man, put it best: Britain can act like a grown-up again. Unfortunately, the hardline Brexiteers still cannot admit Brexit has been a disaster. This deal is not a grand re-entry nor a betrayal, but a quiet confession, a tacit admission that Brexit didn't work. And that's a starting point, isn't it? That to trade, to travel, to defend, we need Europe more than Europe needs us. So yes, Bottom Button Starmer has been stitched up, but he asked to be, because his real aim was to be seen as a serious grown-up, to be seen as someone who's responsible, to be seen as somebody who is honest and admits, at least to himself and maybe his close intimates, that Brexit was a mistake. That's what Europe craves after years of Boris Johnson playing the fool and Liz Truss playing the lettuce. Yet Starmer strides the global stage in sensible shoes. A line from Hamlet comes to mind: we know what we are, but know not what we may be. Well, let me give you a hint. Brexit now is a decomposing wreck. The deal is the first plank in the gangway back to the ship. The question is not whether we rejoin, but when. And in the meantime, let the record show the EU got the fish, and we got the e-gates. I don't know whether that's a reasonable trade. I don't know whether this is anything particularly to celebrate. I feel that there's deceit going on, and I don't like deceit, but I dislike Brexit more, maybe. Maybe that's the problem with and the reason why I find it so difficult to get my head round this strange deal. But I feel there's something wrong. I feel there's something not quite right. I don't feel that we've done it. We've done the fishermen proud at all. I feel we've cheated them yet again. They were cheated by Europe. They were cheated by Brexit, and now they're cheated by Starmer. Well, it's not unlike the farmers, is it? Cheated by George Eustace when we were in Europe, then cheated by Brexit, and cheated again. Cheated by Rachel Reeves and her inheritance tax. It's madness. It's madness. What we have done in voting for Brexit and then producing a Brexit that doesn't work, and then hammering everybody that we possibly can hammer because that Brexit doesn't work. There comes a point where we just have to say, look, it's not working. We need to renegotiate with Europe, join our friends again, even if we're going cap in hand. It can't be any worse than the way we are at the moment, can it? Can it? We're on our knees at the moment. We're on our knees.